I slammed my phone onto the desk, the screen still glowing with the message I didn't want to read. Last night was amazing. Can't wait for the next time. Marcus. My heart froze. My hand shook, and I couldn't breathe. I whispered to myself, no, this can't be real. Victoria. Her name burned in my mind. I ran to her apartment, knocking like a man possessed. The door opened before I could even ring the bell. She looked at me with that same smile I had loved, the one that used to make everything feel right. Adrian, what's wrong? She asked, tilting her head. Innocent, like nothing had happened. What's wrong? I spat, my voice cracking. You tell me. You slept with him. Marcus. She flinched, but her eyes quickly hardened. Adrian, it's not what you think. Not what I think. Victoria, I saw the messages. I know everything. How could you? I stepped inside, my anger pulling me forward. I didn't mean for it to happen, she stammered. I was drunk. It was a mistake. Please, A mistake. I laughed bitterly, shaking my head. Do you have any idea what you've destroyed? The deal, us, everything. She reached out, desperate. I can fix this. I'll do whatever it takes. I pulled back, disgust mixing with heartbreak. You can't fix betrayal, Victoria. You just can't. Silence hung in the room. I could hear my own heartbeat, loud and chaotic. I thought we were unstoppable, I whispered, almost to myself. She looked down, guilt flickering in her eyes. We were. I know. And I ruined it. Ruined it. I repeated, louder this time. You didn't just ruin it. You handed it to him on a silver platter. Marcus, of all people. The one I trusted you to never even speak to about the deal. She tried to explain, but the words sounded hollow. I didn't want to hear excuses anymore. You were supposed to be my partner. In business, in life. And you chose him over me. Over us, I said, my voice breaking. Victoria swallowed hard. I didn't mean to hurt you. I never wanted to hurt you. Then why did you? I asked, voice rising. Why did you betray everything we built? She looked down, silent now. And I realized, maybe she didn't even know herself. I sat down heavily on the couch, burying my face in my hands. The rage was almost unbearable, but the heartbreak, that cut deeper. I trusted you with everything, I muttered. Everything. Victoria knelt in front of me. Adrian, please. Let me make it right. Please. No, the word left my lips before I could stop it. You don't get to make it right. You don't get to erase the damage. Not this time. She nodded, tears glistening in her eyes. I understand. I stood, pacing the room. My mind raced. I could feel the anger, the pain, the disbelief all colliding inside me. But beneath it, a small spark ignited. A determination I hadn't felt before. I can't let this ruin me, I said, voice low, almost to myself. I won't. I'll rebuild. I'll take back everything you tried to steal. And one day, Victoria, you'll see what you lost. She said nothing, only looked at me, the weight of her betrayal reflected in her silence. I walked to the door, taking one last glance at her. The woman I thought I knew, the woman I loved, she was gone. And in that moment, I made a vow. I would rise. Stronger, smarter, unstoppable. And this time, I would make sure no one ever hurt me like that again. I stepped into the night, letting the cold air hit my face, letting it sharpen the resolve in my heart. Marcus thought he had won. Victoria thought she had won. But I had just begun. I walked into the office, trying to act normal, but my chest felt tight and my hands trembled slightly. Every glance at Victoria's calm face was like salt in a fresh wound. Morning, Adrian, she said cheerfully, pretending nothing had happened. Morning, I muttered, keeping my gaze on my laptop. I could feel her eyes on me, calculating, measuring. Ethan slid into the seat across from me. You okay? He asked, his voice low. Fine, I snapped before realizing it. I took a breath. No, not fine. Not at all. He leaned back. I figured. You've been off since last week. Off. I laughed bitterly. Ethan, Victoria, she slept with Marcus. You know, my competitor. Everything we were building. Gone. Ruined. Ethan frowned, placing a hand on my shoulder. I'm sorry, man. I didn't know it was that bad. Bad. It's catastrophic. I said. She pretends everything is normal, smiling, joking with everyone, acting like she didn't betray me. It's infuriating. Ethan nodded. I can see why. But letting anger run your head won't help. You need control. I am trying to control it, I said, more harshly than intended. But how do I focus when every meeting, every email, Every word she says feels like a knife. Then don't focus on her, Ethan advised. Focus on what you can control. Your work, your moves, your comeback. I closed my eyes briefly. It's not just work anymore. I can't stop thinking about why she did it. Was it him? Was it something I didn't give her? Did she even love me at all? Adrian, stop questioning yourself, Ethan said firmly. She made a choice. That's on her, not you. I opened my eyes and glanced at Victoria again. She laughed at a joke someone made down the hall. That charm, that effortless ability to fool people, it made my blood boil. She's good at this, isn't she? I muttered, manipulating everyone like nothing happened. She's dangerous, Ethan, smiling while breaking hearts and careers. Ethan nodded slowly. That's why you have to be smarter. Let her think she's winning, then strike where she won't see it coming. I shook my head. I don't know if I can wait for that. Part of me wants to confront her every second. You'll lose yourself if you do, Ethan warned. Patience is the weapon here. Observation, strategy, not emotion. I sighed. I hate feeling powerless. I hate pretending to be calm when I want to scream. You're not powerless, he said, leaning closer. You've got brains, skills, and focus. That's what she underestimates. Use it. I nodded slowly, my anger mixing with determination. You're right. I can't let her, anyone ruin me. I need to see through her, understand her, and then make my move. Ethan smirked. That's the spirit. Just remember, don't let obsession blind you. Revenge works better when it's calculated. I turned back to my screen, pretending to type, but my mind was elsewhere. Victoria continued her charade across the office, flawless, smiling, untouchable for now. But I wouldn't forget. I wouldn't forgive. And most importantly, I wouldn't lose. I watched her from across the office, sipping my coffee, pretending to check emails. Victoria was at her desk, typing furiously, the glow from her laptop casting shadows on her face. She glanced at the clock, then at the CEO's office, like a hawk checking its prey. She's really trying hard, isn't she? I muttered under my breath. Lena, her coworker, appeared beside me, leaning casually. Trying hard to look good, more like. But you can see through it, right? I see everything, I said, voice low. Every fake smile, every little gesture. She's bending over backward for Blackwell. It's pathetic. Lena smirked. Most people don't notice. She's clever, manipulative, always has been. Always, I agreed. I thought I knew her. I thought we were partners. But she stole everything from me. She's slippery, Lena whispered. And don't think she hasn't noticed you watching. I saw her glance your way more than once. Good, I muttered. Let her think she's untouchable. That's exactly the mistake she's making. I remembered the nights we spent planning, laughing, building something together. The trust, the late-night brainstorming sessions. And now, she used it all as a weapon against me. My jaw tightened. Do you ever think about what she really wants? Lena asked, tilting her head. She's desperate, but is it control? Approval? Or just chaos? Control, I said without hesitation. She needs to feel in charge, like she can manipulate everyone and get away with it. But I'll change that. She's dangerous when ignored, Lena said quietly. But she's more vulnerable than she pretends. I nodded slowly. Exactly. That's why I'm watching. Timing is everything. I'll wait until she slips, and then... I didn't finish. The thought alone sent a shiver down my spine. Across the room, Victoria laughed at something Blackwell said in the meeting room, nodding eagerly, hanging on his every word. She looked like a schoolgirl desperate for approval, and I felt my stomach twist. That used to be me looking at her, hoping she'd notice my effort. You're planning something, Lena said knowingly. I can tell. Be careful, Adrian. Obsession can blind you. I know, I replied. But I can't let go. Not yet. I need to understand her, every move, every lie. And I need to be ready for the day I take back control. All of it. She's playing a dangerous game, Lena said softly. Just don't let her drag you down with her. I won't, I said firmly. I'll rise above. I have to. Victoria got up to deliver a report to Blackwell, nervously smoothing her skirt, smiling too brightly. The CEO barely glanced at her, but she hung on every word he said, nodding, laughing at his jokes, trying to impress him with every gesture. She's pretending, I said. Pretending like last week never happened, pretending like she's untouchable. But I see the cracks. I'll exploit them, quietly, carefully. You're patient, Lena said with a half smile. More patient than I would be. I don't have a choice, I replied. Patience is power. Observation is strategy. And revenge, if it comes, it'll be precise. I watched her leave the meeting room, trailing behind the CEO, eager, almost desperate. I allowed myself a small, cold smile. She thought she was regaining control, climbing back into favor. But I was already ahead. And when the time came, she wouldn't know what hit her. I leaned over the project files, pretending to adjust some figures. Victoria was across the room, focused, unaware I'd subtly changed a few numbers in her report. Minor mistakes, easily overlooked by most, but enough for Blackwell to notice. "Adrian, can I ask something?" Victoria's voice was sharp, nervous. "Sure," I said casually, glancing at her. "Did you double-check the projections? I think there's a discrepancy." I smiled faintly. "I did, but maybe you want to review them again. Numbers can be tricky, right?" Her hands trembled slightly as she flipped through the pages. "Right. I must have missed something." Across the room, I saw Blackwell glance at her report during the meeting. His brow furrowed. He raised an eyebrow, muttered, "Interesting." I felt a flicker of satisfaction, though I tried to hide it. This wasn't about humiliation. It was about showing her that actions have consequences. "She'll panic," I whispered to myself. "She always overcompensates." Victoria's voice cracked a little. "Adrian, did you do anything to the file? Do you think I would?" I said lightly, pretending innocence. "You've got this. Just check again." Minutes later, she approached me, frustration evident. "Why do I feel like everything is wrong?" I triple-checked, and nothing makes sense. "Sometimes things are exactly as they seem," I replied, my tone calm. "Maybe you're just stressed." Blackwell is a demanding audience. She swallowed, flustered, and hurried to adjust the presentation slides. Her fingers fumbled over the keyboard. I felt a pang of guilt briefly. This wasn't her first mistake, but seeing her stress hurt more than I expected. Ethan appeared beside me, lowering his voice. "Careful, Adrian. This thrill, don't let it consume you. You're walking a fine line." "I know," I whispered. "But she needs to feel the consequences. She can't just keep pretending everything is fine." Ethan's eyes narrowed. "I get it, but you're also part of the team. Don't let revenge blind your judgment." "I'm not blind," I muttered, almost to myself. "I'm precise, patient, calculated." Victoria's panicked expressions intensified when she realized Blackwell was watching her every move. "Adrian, help me, please," she whispered, desperation in her voice. I shook my head. "I can't. You'll have to figure it out. Trust yourself for once." Her breathing quickened, lips pressed tight, and I realized she was learning a lesson she'd never expected. I felt a mix of satisfaction and guilt, a confusing tangle. Seeing her falter felt like justice, but also a bitter echo of my own bitterness. "You're ruthless," Ethan said quietly, giving me a warning look. "Not ruthless," I corrected. "Just accountable. She needs to see reality. She can't cheat her way back into control without earning it." Blackwell finally spoke, his tone cutting through the room. "Victoria, review the data again. Accuracy matters. Everyone notices." I could see the sweat on her forehead. The charming mask was cracking. And inside, I felt a strange rush, a thrill I didn't expect, mixed with unease. "Do I overreact?" I whispered to Ethan as she fumbled. "You're human," he said. "Just remember, this path is easy to get lost on. Don't lose yourself in satisfaction." I nodded, staring at Victoria's panicked expression. She had thought she could manipulate everything, charm her way out. She was wrong. And I, for the first time, felt like I had the upper hand. Victoria stayed late again, her office lights glowing like a beacon of desperation. I watched from my desk, pretending to work, but every keystroke of hers echoed in my mind. "You're staring again," Ethan said quietly, leaning over. "She's unraveling," I muttered. "Every move she makes shows cracks in her armor." Ethan nodded. "Careful. Don't let satisfaction blind you." "I won't," I replied, though a part of me relished the quiet chaos she was creating around herself. My phone buzzed. A text from Sophie. "Adrian, don't lose yourself in anger. Revenge is sweet only if you survive it without breaking yourself." I smiled faintly. "Thanks, sophomore. I needed that reminder." Victoria's desk phone rang. She answered with a trembling voice. "Marcus, yes, I have the numbers." "No, they're fine, I smirked as I listened discreetly. She was trying to manipulate him again, playing the charming, persuasive role she'd used on me. Marcus didn't fall for it this time. "I don't need your explanations, Victoria. Stick to the facts." His voice was cool, detached. Her smile faltered. "Oh, right. I'll send the report. I felt a pang of pity, quickly mixed with satisfaction. She thought charm and manipulation were her shields, but now the consequences were tangible. You okay? Ethan asked again, noticing my gaze. I'm fine. Just observing, I said. It's fascinating to see someone so calculated fail under pressure. Lena appeared beside me, whispering. She's working herself into the ground. And yet she's still overcompensating. Every error is a lesson she refuses to see. She'll learn, I said softly. Or she'll crash trying. Victoria's fingers trembled as she sent the report. Blackwell glanced at her from across the room, raising an eyebrow. The way she straightened, smiled, tried to recover, it was almost pathetic. My phone buzzed again. Sophie's text. Remember who you are, Adrian. Don't become like her in your obsession. Control your fire, not let it control you. I stared at the message. She was right. I could let this consume me, turn revenge into obsession. But I had to balance it. Watch, wait, strike smart. Victoria's attention shifted back to her computer. She checked her emails obsessively, replying with forced enthusiasm. Every mistake she made now seemed magnified. And every time she faltered, I reminded myself, patience, observation, strategy. She's learning the hard way, Lena whispered. And you're learning too. About restraint. Yes, I said, thinking about the hours we'd spent together, the trust she destroyed. Watching her crumble is not victory. Control over myself, that's the real win. Victoria's office door opened briefly. Marcus stepped in, his expression unreadable. She straightened, attempting charm. Marcus, I thought you might need. I don't need anything, he interrupted. I've already seen enough. She froze, color rising in her cheeks. I could almost hear the shattering of the illusion she tried to maintain. I felt a strange mix of emotions, pity, because she was desperate and alone in her games, satisfaction, because justice had begun its quiet course. She's facing reality now, I muttered to Ethan. Every choice has a consequence. Ethan nodded, serious. Don't let it change you, Adrian. Let her unravel, but don't lose yourself in the process. I won't, I said firmly. I'll rise above, not fall into the trap of hatred. That's the difference. Victoria slumped in her chair, exhausted but still striving to impress, manipulate, survive. I leaned back, feeling both relief and anticipation. The unraveling was only beginning, and I would see it through, calm, calculated, and in control. I heard Derek Collins' voice before I saw him, spreading another rumor about Victoria's office antics. I clenched my fists, but I didn't react. Let him talk. The more attention she got, the more exposed she became. She's in trouble now, Derek whispered to a colleague. I hear Blackwell isn't impressed. I muttered under my breath. You have no idea. Olivia Grant, senior analyst, approached, sensing my tension. Adrian, ignore the noise. Focus on your moves, not their gossip. I'm trying, I said, forcing calm. But it's like every little misstep she makes gets amplified. Exactly. That's why you stay strategic, Olivia advised. Subtlety keeps your career safe while letting consequences unfold. I nodded. Thanks, Olivia. I needed that perspective. Later, I found Victoria alone in the conference room. The way she smiled at me made my blood boil. I closed the door behind me. Adrian, hey, she started, tilting her head. Don't hey me, I said, voice tight. We need to talk. Her charm faltered slightly, replaced with caution. About what? About why you did it, I demanded. Sleeping with Marcus, jeopardizing everything we built. What were you thinking? I wasn't thinking clearly, she said, eyes wide. It was a mistake. A one-time thing. A mistake. I repeated. You call betrayal, chaos, and manipulation a mistake? I didn't mean to hurt you, she pleaded, voice trembling. I shook my head. You hurt everyone around you. Derek's talking, the office is tense, and you're scrambling like it's just business. Her lips pressed tight. I'm doing my best to recover. I leaned in, lowering my voice. Recovery doesn't erase what you did. And I see right through your charm now. That smile, those excuses, they're empty. She faltered, and for a brief second I saw fear. Not for me, but for her position, her control, her ego. You think you're clever, I said softly. But every move you make leaves a trace. And someone's watching closely. Her eyes darted. Who? You'll figure it out soon enough, I replied, letting the words hang in the air. The next day, Olivia stopped by my desk. Victoria's slipping. Keep your strategy clean. Don't let anger override logic. I know, I said. It's harder than I thought. Seeing her falter, it's satisfying. But I can't let it cost me everything. You're doing well, Olivia said. Careful, but effective. That balance is rare. Keep it that way. I watched Victoria across the room, frantically juggling reports and emails. Every action betrayed her desperation, the same desperation that had destroyed my trust months ago. She doesn't even realize I'm orchestrating this quietly, I muttered to myself. She thinks she's in control, but she's walking into the consequences she created. You need to keep your head, Olivia warned again. Collateral damage doesn't just affect her. Don't let it touch you. I won't, I said firmly, watching her scramble. I'll rise above this. Calculated, patient. Every error she makes is a step closer to justice. And I'll make sure she knows someone is working against her. Victoria glanced up suddenly, as if sensing my eyes. I gave her a neutral nod, hiding my thoughts. The panic in her gaze was fleeting, but it was enough. I walked back to my desk, heart pounding, mind racing. The office felt heavier, tension electric. She didn't know it yet, but the first waves of consequence had reached her, and the tide was only rising. I heard Derek Collins' voice before I saw him, spreading another rumor about Victoria's office antics. I clenched my fists, but I didn't react. Let him talk. The more attention she got, the more exposed she became. She's in trouble now, Derek whispered to a colleague. I hear Blackwell isn't impressed. I muttered under my breath. You have no idea. Olivia Grant, senior analyst, approached, sensing my tension. Adrian, ignore the noise. Focus on your moves, not their gossip. I'm trying, I said, forcing calm. But it's like every little misstep she makes gets amplified. Exactly. That's why you stay strategic, Olivia advised. Subtlety keeps your career safe while letting consequences unfold. I nodded. Thanks, Olivia. I needed that perspective. Later, I found Victoria alone in the conference room. The way she smiled at me made my blood boil. I closed the door behind me. Adrian, hey, she started, tilting her head. Don't hey me, I said, voice tight. We need to talk. Her charm faltered slightly, replaced with caution. About what? About why you did it, I demanded. Sleeping with Marcus, jeopardizing everything we built. What were you thinking? I wasn't thinking clearly, she said, eyes wide. It was a mistake. A one-time thing. A mistake. I repeated. You call betrayal, chaos, and manipulation a mistake? I didn't mean to hurt you, she pleaded, voice trembling. I shook my head. You hurt everyone around you. Derek's talking, the office is tense, and you're scrambling like it's just business. Her lips pressed tight. I'm doing my best to recover. I leaned in, lowering my voice. Recovery doesn't erase what you did. And I see right through your charm now. That smile, those excuses, they're empty. She faltered, and for a brief second I saw fear. Not for me, but for her position, her control, her ego. You think you're clever, I said softly. But every move you make leaves a trace. And someone's watching closely. Her eyes darted. Who? You'll figure it out soon enough, I replied, letting the words hang in the air. The next day, Olivia stopped by my desk. Victoria's slipping. Keep your strategy clean. Don't let anger override logic. I know, I said. It's harder than I thought. Seeing her falter, it's satisfying. But I can't let it cost me everything. You're doing well, Olivia said. Careful, but effective. That balance is rare. Keep it that way. I watched Victoria across the room, frantically juggling reports and emails. Every action betrayed her desperation, the same desperation that had destroyed my trust months ago. She doesn't even realize I'm orchestrating this quietly, I muttered to myself. She thinks she's in control, but she's walking into the consequences she created. You need to keep your head, Olivia warned again. Collateral damage doesn't just affect her. Don't let it touch you. I won't, I said firmly, watching her scramble. I'll rise above this. Calculated, patient. Every error she makes is a step closer to justice. And I'll make sure she knows someone is working against her. Victoria glanced up suddenly, as if sensing my eyes. I gave her a neutral nod, hiding my thoughts. The panic in her gaze was fleeting, but it was enough. I walked back to my desk, heart pounding, mind racing. The office felt heavier, tension electric. She didn't know it yet, but the first waves of consequence had reached her, and the tide was only rising. The conference room felt tense, lights glaring, the CEO's eyes scanning every face. Victoria sat across from me, smooth and smiling, but I noticed her hands trembling slightly. Adrian, ready? Olivia whispered, sliding a folder toward me. I am, I replied, calm on the surface, heart hammering beneath. Let's do this. Victoria began her presentation, voice polished, flawless at first. I watched her carefully, noting every hesitation, every forced smile. Blackwell nodded politely, but I could see the cracks forming. I'll handle the numbers now, she said, moving to the spreadsheet. Her fingers hovered, then faltered. Wait, that's not. I remained silent, observing. The CEO raised an eyebrow, and she swallowed nervously. Adrian, could you clarify the projections? Blackwell asked, his tone neutral but firm. I stood, collected, and spoke clearly. Certainly. The actual numbers indicate a different growth pattern than initially presented. Here's the breakdown. I handed him the report Olivia had helped me refine. Victoria's eyes widened, panic flickering across her face. I thought these were. Double-checked before submission, I said softly, letting her stumble. Accuracy is critical for decision-making. Blackwell's expression remained professional, but I caught the brief nod of approval. Marcus sat silently at the side, arms crossed, eyes sharp. I sensed his calculation. He realized I wasn't the same person he had underestimated. Thank you, Adrian, Blackwell said. Clear, precise, and thorough. Let's move on. Victoria's composure cracked. She fumbled with her slides, numbers mismatched, explanations shaky. I kept my face neutral, but inside, a small satisfaction bloomed. Karma was subtle, but undeniable. She's panicking, Olivia whispered. Good. Let her realize the consequences of her choices. I nodded, careful not to betray my emotions. I've learned patience, observation, and timing. Victoria tried to regain control, flashing a quick smile. Everything's fine, just minor adjustments. Blackwell interrupted. Adrian's report clarified the discrepancies. I trust your team will align with these findings moving forward. The weight of his words sank in. Victoria's mouth opened, then closed. She faltered, realizing the balance of power had shifted. Marcus leaned back, a faint smirk crossing his face. I met his gaze briefly. No words, just acknowledgement. He knew Adrian Clark was no longer someone to overlook. I felt a surge of professional power, tempered by the knowledge that personal restraint was what truly allowed this moment to happen. I didn't gloat, I didn't taunt, just maintained control, letting the outcome speak for itself. Victoria's face flushed, her usual charm failing her. I watched her shoulders tense, every forced gesture betraying fear. The presentation ended, and Blackwell moved on to the next topic, leaving her scrambling to recover. You did it, Olivia whispered quietly. You've taken back control without compromising yourself. I had to, I replied, voice low. For the career I almost lost, for the respect I need, and for the self I refused to let her destroy. Victoria avoided my gaze, muttering under her breath. Her panic and desperation were undeniable now, no longer masked by charm or manipulation. I returned to my seat calm, professional, composed. Inside, however, a quiet satisfaction lingered. This wasn't about revenge alone. It was about reclaiming myself, regaining what she tried to steal, and proving to everyone, including Marcus, that I was the one in control. The tide had turned. I was no longer the victim. I was the strategist, the observer, the one who decided outcomes. And for the first time in weeks, I felt the weight of freedom, subtle but exhilarating. Victoria would have to learn quickly. She couldn't manipulate her way back to power. I had taken that silently, efficiently, and irreversibly. Months had passed, and the office had settled into a new rhythm. I stood by the window, watching the city lights flicker, reflecting on the path I'd taken. The heartbreak, the rage, the careful strategy, it all led here. Olivia approached, holding a coffee. You're quiet tonight. Reflecting. Yeah, I admitted. It's strange. I feel lighter but stronger. I didn't just survive the chaos Victoria caused. I grew from it. Ethan joined, smirking slightly. Look at you, Adrian Clark, all calm and collected. Who would have thought you'd come out of that storm unbroken? I had to, I said, taking the coffee from Olivia. Every mistake, every betrayal, they became lessons. And I refused to let them define me. Sophie walked over, smiling softly. You've rebuilt more than your career. You've rebuilt yourself. That's the hardest part. I nodded, sipping the coffee. I realized that vengeance doesn't heal. Control over myself, that's what mattered. Letting her go, letting the past stay, that gave me peace. Ethan leaned back, grinning. And yet, she's still scrambling. Victoria? Minor projects, always trying to impress Blackwell, but no influence left. Karma, subtle but effective. She's a reminder, I said, voice low. Not of revenge, but of resilience. I didn't need to destroy her. I just needed to rise above her. Olivia's eyes sparkled. And you did. Quietly, efficiently, with dignity. That's rare in this industry. I learned patience, I said. Observation. Self-control. Watching her unravel was tempting, but I didn't let it consume me. That's what made this victory real. Sophie smiled warmly. And you survived emotionally. That's more than most could say. Most would have been broken, consumed by anger. I had support, I admitted, glancing at Ethan and Olivia. And I chose not to be consumed. I chose to reclaim myself, piece by piece. The office felt calm tonight. Reports were done, emails sent, and the hum of computers was soothing. I thought about Victoria, still chasing approval, still trapped by her choices. No satisfaction in seeing her falter. Only understanding that some lessons are learned too late. You're ready now, Sophie said softly. To move forward, not to look back. I nodded, exhaling slowly. Yes. Forward. Stronger, wiser. I don't carry the weight of betrayal anymore. I carry lessons, strength, and clarity. Ethan raised his cup. To Adrian Clark, for surviving and thriving. Professionally and emotionally. To growth, Olivia added, smiling. To moving forward, I said, clinking my cup gently. For the first time in months, I allowed myself to feel truly at ease. The chaos, the heartbreak, the rage, they were behind me. My career was stronger, my mind clearer, and my heart lighter. I glanced at the city below, a world of possibilities stretching beyond. I was no longer defined by loss or betrayal. I was defined by resilience, patience, and self-respect. And for the first time, I felt ready to embrace whatever came next. Not with fear, not with anger, but with quiet strength and hope. The past had shaped me, but it did not control me. I had risen from the ashes.